There are lakes that boil without anyone ever lighting a fire. There are lakes that turn birds and bats into statues of stone. And there is one lake that, in a single night, killed more people than many battles in history. And it did it in silence, while its victims were sleeping. Every one of them is real. You can find each of them on a map. And in some of them, a single swim would be the last thing you ever did. The answer to what turns water this calm, water that looks like any other lake, into something that can kill in minutes, lies in the most violent geology on our planet. It lies in what sleeps beneath the quiet surface. Today we're going to show you 10 lakes where swimming means death. We'll reveal exactly how each one kills, the chemistry and the geology behind every case. And we're saving the biggest secret of this list for the end. The most dangerous lake of them all has never killed a soul, because it's waiting. And there are 2 million people living right on top of it. The first lake of our journey sits on a small Caribbean island, Dominica, inside a national park called Morne Trois Pitons. At first glance, it's just a crater full of grayish-blue water, always wrapped in a curtain of steam. But anyone who gets close understands very quickly why its name is, quite literally, Boiling Lake. The water at the edges runs between 180 and 197 degrees Fahrenheit. At the center, it truly boils, with so much force that no one has ever managed to measure the temperature there. Getting close is impossible, and the most unsettling part is that there's no fire at all. No flame, no lava in sight. What heats this water is a crack in the very floor of the planet. Boiling Lake is a flooded fumarole, an opening in the crust where gases and heat rise up from the magma below. Rainwater fills the crater, and the heat of the earth does the rest. It's a pressure cooker the size of a lake, held at the boiling point by the energy of a sleeping volcano. Falling in isn't like falling into hot water. It's like falling into a kettle that never switches off. Your skin doesn't get a second chance. But if death here comes from heat, in the next lake on the list, it comes from something even stranger. Because there is water in this world that doesn't cook you. It dissolves you. The second lake sits on the other side of the planet, on the island of Java in Indonesia, inside the crater of a volcano called Ijen. From a distance, it's almost unreal in its beauty. A lake of glowing turquoise blue, the largest acidic lake in the world. Up close, it's one of the most hostile bodies of water that exist. The gases rising from the magma chamber react with the water and form sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid. The result is a pH of around 0.3. To give you an idea, that's more acidic than a car battery. Water that corrodes metal, dissolves cloth, and eats anything that touches it. And at night, Ijen does something out of this world. The hot gases that escape catch fire the moment they meet the air, and they burn with an electric blue flame that pours down the slope like rivers of cold fire. It's beautiful, and it's pure poison. Now, the detail almost nobody tells you. There are people who work inside that crater. Every single day, miners climb down to gather blocks of sulfur, hauling brutally heavy baskets on their backs, breathing that smoke with no real protection. The life expectancy of someone doing that work is somewhere around 45 to 50 years. They trade years of their lives for a few dollars a day. If watching our planet at its most brutal extremes is the kind of thing that keeps you here, stick around because this is only the beginning. Acid burns you from the outside, but the next lake on the list does something far worse. It preserves you. The third wonder on our list sits in Tanzania, near the border with Kenya, in the shadow of a volcano. It's Lake Natron, and its reputation is terrifying. People say it turns to stone any animal that touches its water. There are famous photographs taken by the photographer Nick Brandt in 2013 that traveled the world. Birds, bats, whole creatures, hardened, frozen in lifelike poses, like statues from a cursed city. The legend says, one touch is all it takes to become a statue. And this is where the truth comes in. And the truth is, at the same time, simpler and more disturbing than the myth. Natron doesn't petrify anything that's alive. It's a soda lake, loaded with sodium carbonate, with a pH that can reach 12. That's as alkaline as ammonia, strong enough to burn skin and eyes. The water, shallow, can climb past 140 degrees Fahrenheit. An animal that falls in and dies doesn't turn to stone on the spot. It dies first, and only afterward, slowly, the salt coats it, dries it, and preserves it. And here's the detail that gives you chills. The mineral that does this, natron, is the very same salt the ancient Egyptians used to mummify their dead. The lake is a natural mummification chamber, the size of an entire landscape. It doesn't freeze life, it embalms death. It's the old lesson that reality almost always outdoes invention. The fantastic story talks about magic. The real story talks about chemistry. And it's the chemistry that truly haunts you. And the strangest part of all, that same deadly lake is the single most important breeding ground for one of Africa's most delicate birds. Lesser flamingos build their nests right there, protected by the very water that kills everything else. So far, in all these lakes, you can see the danger coming. The color, the steam, the smell. In the next one, you can't. Because the killer is invisible. And it isn't in some distant place. It's in a tourist park. The fourth lake changes the game completely. It isn't in an exotic volcano or an African desert. It's in the United States, in California, in a beautiful tourist-filled place called Mammoth Mountain. Its name is Horseshoe Lake, and at first glance it's a postcard, mirror-like water, hiking trails, pine trees. Except, there's a part of the woods there that is dead. Hundreds of dry trees, still standing, with no leaves, like skeletons. A ghost forest in the middle of a vacation spot. The explanation is underground. Beneath that mountain, there's magma, and from that magma rises carbon dioxide, which keeps building up in the soil. At some points near the lake, the gas reaches 90% of the soil's makeup. The roots of the trees can't breathe, and they die suffocated, from the bottom up, without anything showing on the surface. And it isn't just the trees. In 2006, 3 people died because of that same gas inside a cave nearby. Carbon dioxide has no smell, no color. It's heavier than air, so it gathers in low places, in holes, in hollows. You can be breathing and, without realizing it, taking in no oxygen at all. And here's a question for you. On the other side of the screen, what country are you watching this video from? Write it down in the comments, because I want to know how close you live to a lake like these. You might be surprised. Nature is frightening on its own, and it isn't done yet. In the next lake, the danger is so heavy it crawls along the ground and kills everything that comes too close to the surface. The 5th lake is the smallest on our list, and maybe that's exactly what makes it the most treacherous. It's in Ethiopia, in one of the hottest and most inhospitable regions on the planet, the Danakil Depression. It's a crescent-shaped pool, about 200 feet from one end to the other, born from an earthquake in 2005. Its name is Gayet Al, but the people of the region call it something else, the Killer Lake. Its water is the saltiest on the entire Earth. The salinity reaches 43%, more than 12 times that of the ocean. It's so saturated with iron salts that it feels oily to the touch, and it has an otherworldly yellow color. But it isn't the salt that kills, it's what rises off the water. Gayet Al releases carbon dioxide that comes from the volcanic depths of the ground, and that gas pools right against the surface. Birds and insects that land nearby drop dead, and scientists have found dozens of bird bodies along the shores, some already coated in salt, preserved like mummies. For a human being, the danger is in the last 12 inches above the water. Get too close, lower your face, and you trade air for gas without even feeling it. That was nature at its worst. The next lake is worse still, but this time the blame isn't hers, it's ours. The 6th lake is, for a lot of people, the most dangerous place on this entire list. And it was made that way on purpose, by human hands. It's in Russia, in the Ural Mountains, and it's called Lake Karachay. Before 1951, it was an ordinary lake. It had fish, it had birds, it had life. And then the dumping began. The Mayak nuclear plant, part of the Soviet atomic weapons program, chose that lake as the dumping ground for its radioactive waste. For years, batch after batch of waste was thrown into it. The lake kept accumulating isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90 until it became one of the most radioactive places in the world. The radiation reached a level that's hard to imagine. According to estimates, standing on the shore of Karachay for about an hour was enough to receive a dose of radiation capable of killing you. Not swimming, not drinking, just standing there beside it. Some measurements suggested that even a few minutes were already dangerous. Later, a drought exposed part of the lake bed, and the wind scattered the radioactive dust over an enormous area, reaching a vast number of people. It was so serious that, decades later, between 2011 and 2016, the authorities simply filled the lake with concrete and earth, sealing the poison under a lid of cement. Karachai today is a lake buried alive. That one kills because of what man put into it. The next one kills in a way no one expects because it looks like the most harmless of them all. It looks, in fact, like an invitation. The seventh lake may be the most dangerous precisely because it doesn't look dangerous at all. No acid, no radiation, no sulfur fumes. It's Lake Michigan in the United States, one of the 5 Great Lakes. Fresh water, sandy beaches, people swimming, children playing, a perfect vacation scene. And yet, it's the deadliest of the Great Lakes. Every year, people drown there, more than in any of the other 4. What makes Michigan so lethal isn't in the chemistry, it's in the movement of the water. Near the breakwaters and the stone structures, rip currents and structural currents form, bands of water that pull a swimmer away from the beach, or pin them against the structure, with a force impossible to beat with your arms. A person walks into water that looks calm on a beautiful day, and suddenly they are being dragged out. And exhaustion arrives before help does. There's no warning, no change in color, no smell, just the calm surface of a lake that looks like a giant swimming pool. And now, I want your opinion. Of all the lakes we've shown so far, which one gave you the worst chill? The one that boils, the one that dissolves, the one that turns animals into statues, or this one that kills while looking like the gentlest of them all? Write it below. I read the comments, because as frightening as these 7 are, none of them compares to what sleeps beneath Central Africa. And that story began with a warning the whole world failed to read. The 8th lake is in Cameroon, in Central Africa. And for a long time, nobody understood what happened in it. In 1984, on a road by the edge of Lake Nyos, 37 people died suddenly, with no wound, no explanation. The bodies were there, but nothing around them seemed to have been touched. The first suspicions were the worst ones. Some people thought it had been an attack, a poisoning, maybe a political assassination. The idea that a quiet lake could, all on its own, kill dozens of people on a road was simply too hard to believe. Nobody had a name for it, but the truth was geological, and it was new to science. Nyos is a crater lake, and at the bottom of it, under pressure, an enormous amount of carbon dioxide was dissolved, built up over centuries. That night, something disturbed the balance, and the gas rose all at once, forming an invisible, heavy cloud that spread along the ground and suffocated whoever was in its path. It was the first time the world had seen this kind of phenomenon documented. The problem is that almost nobody paid attention. And a few miles away, there was a neighboring lake, much larger, holding the very same secret. 2 years later, it would charge a price the world would never forget. That price has a date, the 21st of August, 1986, and it has a name, Lake Nyos. It was an ordinary night in the villages scattered through the valleys below the lake in northwestern Cameroon. People had eaten dinner, lain down, turned off the lights. Nyos, up above, in its sleeping volcano crater, looked as calm as on any other night. But at the bottom of it, something had been building for a very long time. A colossal amount of carbon dioxide, dissolved under the pressure of the deep water, waiting. And that night, something broke the balance. It might have been a landslide, a small shift. No one knows for certain. What is known is that, in a matter of minutes, the lake exploded from the bottom up. A column of water and foam rose nearly 300 feet into the air. And from the depths came a cloud of somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide. That gas is heavier than air, so it didn't rise and dissipate. It came down. It poured down the slope like an invisible river at nearly 60 miles per hour and spilled over the valleys where people were sleeping. The villages of Nyos, of Cha, of Subum were taken in silence. No flame, no sound, no warning. Just the air, suddenly with no oxygen in it at all. When the sun came up, 1,746 people were dead. Along with them, thousands of head of cattle and countless birds and insects, in a band of land that stretched for more than 15 miles out from the lake. Whole villages had ceased to exist in their sleep. One of the survivors told afterward how he woke up too weak to speak, with strange wounds on his body, and how, when he opened the door of his house, he found his neighbors all dead. His daughter had died in her own bed. He crossed a world of total silence where not a single animal stirred to reach help. Science gave a name to what happened, a limnic eruption, an event so rare that, to this day, only 3 lakes on the entire planet are known to be capable of producing one. Nyos was one of them. After the tragedy, scientists installed a system of giant pipes in the lake, which raised the water from the bottom and let the gas escape little by little in a controlled and safe way, mimicking the eruption on a tiny scale. The first pipe went into operation on the 30th of January, 2001. Today, Nyos is considered relatively safe. But remember, science said there are 3 lakes like this in the world? Nyos was the one that is already killed. There's a sibling of his, in the same Africa, that's about 2,000 times larger. And unlike Nyos, that one hasn't woken up yet. The 10th and final lake on our list is Lake Kivu, on the border between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And it's the most frightening of them all for a reason that sounds like a contradiction, because it has never killed anyone. Kivu is one of the 3 lakes in the world capable of a limnic eruption, the same phenomenon that destroyed Nyos. Except, the scale here is from another planet. Dissolved at the bottom of it are around 70 cubic miles of carbon dioxide and around 14 cubic miles of methane. It's a gas reserve so vast it makes Nyos look like a puddle. And now, the part that keeps you up at night. On the shores of Kivu live roughly 2 million people. Entire cities, homes, schools, markets, built right at the edge of a lake that holds, in its depths, enough energy to suffocate everything living around it, if that balance ever breaks. That was the 3rd promise from the beginning. The most dangerous lake on this list is the one that hasn't done anything yet. It's just waiting. Here, though, the story takes a turn that is, at the same time, hope and risk. All that methane at the bottom of the lake is fuel, and there are already plants pulling that gas out of Kivu to generate electricity for the region. In theory, removing the methane little by little could make the lake safer, diffusing the bomb with care. But tampering with something this delicate also carries the fear of accidentally triggering the very thing you're trying to prevent. It's the most honest dilemma on this list. The same water that threatens 2 million people could be the source of energy that lights the homes of those very same people. Salvation and danger dissolve together in the same dark place down at the bottom. From a boiling pool on a Caribbean island to a ghost forest in California. From a lake that turns animals into statues of salt to one that was buried alive under concrete. From a single night that erased entire villages in Cameroon to a silent giant still breathing beneath 2 million people. 10 lakes, 10 different ways for one of the most common and most necessary things in the world, water, to become something that takes life away. And maybe the greatest lesson in all of this is just one. We grow up thinking water is the opposite of danger. It's what quenches thirst, what cleans, what calms. But in certain places on the planet, water holds the patience of the earth itself. It waits, for centuries, if it has to. And what looks like the most peaceful scene in the world might actually be nothing more than time holding back its force. How many other silent giants are out there, right now, beneath surfaces that look perfectly calm? The next time you look at a perfectly still lake, motionless, mirroring the sky, remember, sometimes calm isn't the absence of danger. It's just danger with a great deal of patience.